Hey everybody, Johnny Richardson here again with the next key strategy to ensure that you can set up and run a profitable business. This one is keep score, and this is the thing that you need to do on a weekly basis. It is also one of the things that nearly all hospitality businesses or small hospitality businesses do not do properly. They open up and then they find out how much or how little money they have made by going bankrupt or by finding out from their accountant well after the end of the year. I did this myself, and the story that we have told many times is this man in the brown suit story. I'm not going to give you the whole tedious story here today, but the gist of it was, within our sandwich business, we had grown it up to the largest sandwich business in Ireland. We had a business partner who went bankrupt and managed to remove quite a lot of money from the business. So we were in a real cash flow problem because of the difficulties that had been created by him going bankrupt. We ended up scrabbling around trying to get investors in. And the accounts that we had were already about 6 months out of date, and of course they related through to the previous year. Since that period of time, we'd opened a new shop, we'd done a lot of new things to radically change the business. Our turnover was probably 30 or 40% up. But we had no idea whether we were actually making money there and then on a week-by-week basis. A gentleman came in who could have helped us and had helped a friend of mine in a previous in his business, and he wanted us to tell him how much money we made on a weekly basis in all of our shops and in the factories. And I did not believe that that was possible to do. I believed that you couldn't do it without full stock take, you couldn't do it without necessarily the sort of thing you did on a yearly basis. I did not believe that it was possible to spend the time on a weekly basis to do that, particularly when we were scrabbling around trying to save the business. So he asked us to fill out a very simple profit and loss and work it out on a weekly basis for each site, and that involved a stock take on each site. And we didn't do it. He came back the next week. We hadn't provided him with the information. He didn't invest in the business. 2 weeks later, we had to pull the shutters down on the factory and make about 30 people redundant, sell off all the shops to pay off the debts because we could not get external investment in. We subsequently discovered that we were making approximately £8,000 per month of net profit. And that was even though we were running the business very badly at that stage, because we were, having all of these cash flow problems. So the lesson to me subsequent to that is that actually you really must know where you are on a weekly basis. Now recently we have been involved in a very large consulting project, and by simply putting in very strict weekly financial controls, that business has put an extra a 7-figure sum to the bottom line. It's me losing a lot of money to begin with. And that simple control and measurement of a weekly profit and loss created that sort of a saving. We did some work with the business a few years ago. We put in and in that situation, we put in a profit and loss measurement system and got all of the managers to work towards that in each individual site. And they were incentivized based upon those figures, and that business made an extra £300,000 the next year simply as a result of that. Because when you keep score of anything, your weight, your fitness, anything that at all that you can do, that you can measure, and if you keep measuring it and keep looking at those figures, you inevitably start to improve in that. If you have high blood pressure or cholesterol or anything, and you keep going to the doctor, the figures will not lie. You will end up with, out of embarrassment more than anything else, generally you will end up doing something about it. Maybe not the first time, maybe not the second time. The same thing applies with keeping score in your business on a weekly basis. Now the 3 things that you have to measure are your sales, which you keep driving up through marketing efforts, your cost of sales, your gross profit margin, and the third thing is your wage cost. And on a weekly basis you need to know those 3 things and how you are working on the relationship between those 3 things. We talk about the profit triangle, Top part of the profit triangle is your sales that you're constantly driving up. The two bottom prongs of the triangle are cost of sales, you're driving that down, and your wage cost, you're driving that down, relatively speaking, to your sales. So on a weekly basis, you need to know what your numbers are, what the ratio is between them, and you need to be working to improve all three of those things in the triangle every week. So that is the key thing that you must do every week. I know for a fact that most of you won't do it, but the results when you do it are fantastic. It's almost impossible not to get an increase in profit. It's almost as if by not doing it, you're saying you don't want to have extra profit. So, and I don't want to have to do a sort of a superior paternalistic tone, but I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to know your figures and keep putting in place various things to improve those figures on a weekly basis. So if you're thinking of setting up a new site, that is the thing that you need to have in planned before you open, because if you're starting to catch up with it afterwards, it's very difficult. And if you existingly have a site, you should be thinking, okay, I work out how much money I make on a yearly basis. I'm not making as much money as I would like. Brilliant if you are, but if you're not making as much money as you like, you need to get in a system of a weekly profit and loss. So that is the next one. It is keep score, and I would very much advise that you try and put that into your business. Thank you.